My greetings to you all viewers, and today we have a very inspiring piece to discuss with the title Nelson Mandela Long Walk to Freedom. Let's see what does this wonderful inspirational set of words convey to you. This is an extract from autobiography of Nelson Mandela, the first black president of South Africa. He is from South Africa, first black president of South Africa. Excerpt from Long Walk to Freedom include a description of the inauguration ceremony. There is a description of an inauguration ceremony also, like how did this country, when they become, completely free, and then their president takes the oath. So the entire inaugural ceremony is also described there. And citations from his speech, his journey to being a freedom fighter, the struggle, along with tribute to other freedom fighters and countless other people who fought for their freedom. So everything else is given here, and we will see in details in the text which is following. In South Africa, a brutal practice named apartheid was followed. This is very important term. Some people call it apartheid and some people call it apartheid, but then apartheid is more appropriate. So we'll say apartheid means the people who have actually been discriminated on the basis of their color was followed. Apartheid refers to discrimination between people on the basis of their race. It was one of the most brutal societies where dark-skinned people were deprived of their basic rights. This lesson gives us an overview as to how Nelson Mandela, along with others, carved their way to society where there will be no discrimination on the basis of their color, caste, race or religion, even on the basis of gender also. So everything is described here wonderfully, and we'll see the speech excerpt from Nelson Mandela's the entire story, and we'll see it now. 10th May dawned bright and clear. For the past few days, I had been pleasantly besieged by dignitaries. He is getting, surrounded by the dignitaries because it is a big occasion. The country is getting free. The country is coming to the cloak of democracy. So that is indeed an hour of pride, a moment of indeed a pride for this entire nation. And Nelson Mandela says, since I'm telling you that it is his autobiographical sketch also, so we'll see a lot of personal pronouns used because he is describing his own life story here with much pride. I had been pleasantly besieged by dignitaries and world leaders who were coming to pay the respect before the inauguration. So all these leaders were naturally coming. It's a big day. The inauguration would be the largest gathering ever of international leaders on South African soil. So this, he says, is going to be a remarkable moment in the manner because this is for the first time on the land of South Africa. There will be international gathering at such huge number. So this is where it is very, very important day and important ceremony. The ceremonies took place in the lovely sandstone amphitheatre formed by the Union buildings in Pretoria. This is the place, Pretoria. Union building is a particular place, and then there is this open amphitheatre, a kind of an open theatre where there are, you see there are places where people can sit, watch, and then the entire ceremony. It's all open. It's not covered, the covered theatre like we see. It's just open air theatre. For decades, this had been the seat of white supremacy. For decades, for years, only white English people were sitting there and having their rule and their ownership. But this is for the first time that local people from South Africa will be celebrating or will be organizing an event of their own. And now it was a site of rainbow gathering of different colors and nations for installation of South Africa's first democratic non-racial government. This is first democratic government which is non-racial. They are not going to be discriminating, freedom, liberty, all that will be established now from this particular time, Nelson Mandela says. On that lovely autumn day, I was accompanied by my daughter Zinani. On the podium, Mr. De Klerk was the first sworn in as second deputy president. So before Nelson Mandela's term comes as to sworn in as, to swear in as the president, the deputy president comes and swears in, and then Thabo Mbeki was sworn in as first deputy president. When it was my turn, I pledged to obey and uphold the constitution and to devote myself to the well-being of republic and its people. And then he says, I solely pledge to be devoted to the cause of well-being of a common man. That is where we see the real trait of a leader. A true trait of a leader is when he is completely devoted to the cause of common people's services. To the assembled guests and the watching world, I say, today all of us do by our presence here confer glory and hope to newborn liberty. And that's how he starts his speech. He's addressing people, the gathering. As I told you, there are international visitors because they are all witnessing this great hour when South African people have their own democratic government. And then he's addressing them with this. Today all of us do by our presence here confer glory and hope to newborn liberty. I am really honored, he says, and there is, big honor for us and glorious hour is this. And we have a lot of hope also when we see your presence, the people, eminent people from eminent leaders from all across the globe. So he says this is really an hour of pride for them. Out of the experience of an extraordinary human disaster that lasted too long. And there in these lines, it reflects the pain when this country was not free. It was slave, to certain nations. So he says, why did that challenging time last for so long? But then finally, good thing is that it is over. And now South African air is completely free. Must be born a society of which all humanity will be proud. And then he's saying that we are going to make such endeavors that we will make such great efforts, entire world would be proud of us and will always look up to us. We who were outlaws not so long ago have today been given the rare privilege to be the host to the nations of the world on our own soil. He says, I remember few decades back or few years back, we had no privileges of this sort that we could also host or we could also be host to international gathering. But I am so happy Nelson Mandela says that today we are hosting an international gathering. And then we thank all our distinguished international guests for having come to take possession with the people of our country of what is after all a common victory for justice, peace and human dignity. He says it's not just the winning or triumph of just one nation. It is a common victory for all those who seek peace, for all those who are supporting liberty, for all those who have human hearts beating in their bodies. It's a common victory for everybody who loves human dignity as well. We have at last achieved a political emancipation. Whatever hopes they had, they have achieved. Finally, because they have come to the verge of democratic nation, now they are no more slave. We pledge ourselves to be liberate all our people from the continuing bondage of poverty, deprivation, suffering, gender and other discrimination. And he's saying all these evils such as poverty, deprivation, suffering and everything will now be over because now we have a democratic system working in our country. He's so happy announcing all that. Never, never and never again shall it be that beautiful land will again experience the oppression of one by another. And he's promising as a head of a democratic nation, now I promise that nobody in this land will ever oppress another person. One person is not going to oppress another person. It will be equality all through. This is his commitment reflected in these lines. The sun shall never set on so glorious a human achievement, let freedom reign. God bless Africa. A few moments later, we all lifted our eyes in awe as a spectacular array of South African jets, helicopters and troop carriers rode in perfect transformation and formation over the Union building. Their this Parliament House, you can say like that. So there, just when he was addressing, he saw that there were airplanes roaming around and, hovering around. It was just, kind of march past that we have with soldiers. So in air, we have the display of all these jets, displaying their colors of the flag and all that. So he's saying that these colors also symbolize our hope, our victory and our pride. It is not only a display of pinpoint precision. It's not just, they are trying to show how pinpointly they are, showing this, their art and their flying and all that. It's not just that or military force, but a demonstration of the military's loyalty to democracy, to a new government that had been freely and fairly elected. And it is these jets, who are hovering, the jets which are hovering around above, saluting people with different gestures, with their march and with their display. It's not just they are showing the military power, they are more importantly and significantly showing free government and their loyalty towards this government, who is having faith in people, for everybody all equal. Only moments before, the highest generals of the South African Defence Force and police, their chests bedecked with ribbons and medals from day gone by, saluted me and pledged their loyalty. And he says it's not only the jets, even the army people, when I saw them in their uniform and, decoration was all there. They had the honor of badge on their pockets. So, even they saluted me. So, this also shows that military is now no more going to be oppressing, making people suffer. It is going to be loyal to the cause of justice. I was not unmindful of the fact that not so many years before they would not have saluted but arrested me. Now today he says I am taking pride in the fact that this military is saluting me. But I have the reminiscence of the fact that the same military people few years back were arresting me. So you can see the change when it come from autocratic system to a democratic system. That's very important. Finally, a chevron of Impala jets left a smoke trail of black, red, green, blue and gold of the new South African flag. So all these, V shape, this chevron means the V shape, this display of the colors emitting from their jets. So this is actually all these colors which are mentioned here, green, blue, gold and all that. This signifies the color of their flag. The day was symbolized for me by the playing of our two national anthem and the vision of white singing Nkosi Sikelel, I Africa, and black singing Die Stem, the old anthem of the Republic. So I can see, like in cricket matches also, you see the two nations, anthems are played before the match starts. So similarly here also he says, on this day I am so proud to see that we have our own national anthem being sung, as well as the national anthem of the white people who are liberating us now finally for the call of democracy and humanity. Although the day neither group knew the lyrics of the anthem they once despised, they would soon know the word by heart. And nobody knew that they're not liking this. Earlier they did not like our national anthem, but now everybody remembers our national anthem by heart. So that's a very great honor for him. Nelson Mandela is just confessing this. On the day of inauguration, I was overwhelmed with a sense of history in the first decade of the 20th century, a few years after the bitter Anglo-Boer War and before my own birth. Now he's reminding, taking us to history, that how he was feeling as a child and he was not at all happy, and he's taking us to the past, that he's just giving us a glimpse of this particular bitter war, and he's talking about when he was not even born. The white-skinned people of South Africa patched up their differences and erected a system of racial domination against the dark-skinned people of their own land. And he says that the word bitter he is using because he is calling it unfair that the white people, the English people, have established a system of discrimination on the basis of people's skin color. So he is not happy with it basically. He is recalling all that, but it's no more existing now because this is a time of pride, freedom and liberty. The structure they created formed the basis of one of the harshest, most inhumane means it's not human, we'll call it inhumane, which means not at all kind, something which is so rigid and which is lacking all humanity or humane virtues or inhumane things. Now in the last decade of the 20th century and my own 8th decade as a man, that system had been overturned forever and replaced by one that recognizes the rights and freedom of all people regardless of their color of skin. So he says, now I am so happy that even Now I am in, the 8th decade of my life, but finally from childhood when I saw that they were establishing a system on the discrimination, and now it is turned down forever and it is overturned, and Nelson Mandela is so happy with this change. The day had come about through the unimaginable sacrifices of thousands of people whose suffering and courage can never be counted or repeated. And he is giving all credit to the sacrifices of the martyrs as well as all the freedom fighters who have made this day possible by their sacrifices. I felt that day, as I have on so many other days, that I was simply the sum of all those African patriots who had gone before me. So it's not that I am taking credit of this hour of liberty. That's the virtue of great leader here we can see, my dear viewers, because he is not solely taking credit of all this on his own. He says, they have paved the path for me, for us, for the whole nation, and we have just walked over it. So we cannot simply let go or forget their sacrifices. I give them more weightage and good credit to them, and it is only because of their sacrifices that we are witnessing such a glorious moment.